Billionaire's incredible transformation, revealing moment on flight when he discovers hidden bonds of family and love. Jack Larson, a self-made billionaire, looked out from his private jet, clouds swirling beneath him as if he were soaring above a world he barely recognized anymore. He had just celebrated a monumental business acquisition, toasting with the elite. Wealth dripped from his fingertips, but an emptiness echoed within him, a heavy reminder of his upbringing in rural Idaho. The camaraderie he experienced during those simpler days felt distant, and his success left him feeling more isolated than ever. As cabin attendants flitted about, showering him with attention, a gruff, warm voice broke through his thoughts. "Got a moment, son?" The old man next to him had a weathered face, each wrinkle telling a story of laughter and pain. Carl was an 82-year-old war veteran, and even at his age, every syllable resonated with a purpose that caught Jack's full attention. "It was tough back then," Carl began, nostalgia painting his words. "War does that to you. It takes what matters most." His eyes glazed over as he spoke about a daughter he hadn't seen in years, the pain of choices made and love unexpressed twisting deep in Jack's heart. The stories of sacrifice and regret filled the air between them, pulsating with authenticity. Jack leaned closer. Carl's vulnerability cracked open something deep within him, the unspoken words he wished he had shared with his own father. Memories of his dad, a humble mechanic, surfaced, bringing with them a weight of regret. His father had never chased dreams, he had worked to provide. "You know, my dad always thought I'd fail," Jack admitted quietly, recalling all the dismissive glances. No matter how much success he amassed, he could still feel the disappointment heavy on his shoulders. Carl offered a knowing nod. The entire cabin felt like a portal to a world of emotions, realizations crystallizing mid-flight, far above society's judgment, where currency meant nothing against familial bonds. Jack's heart raced, fueled by Carl's bravery. "I want to help you reach your daughter," he declared, inspired yet terrified at the risk of overstepping. But as the idea took flight, silence held them captive, an unspoken fear lingering. It was daunting. Jack, the billionaire, worried that his privilege could tarnish his intentions. Before they could dismiss the thought, he sent a message to her, sending vibrations of hope and anxiety through his bones. When the rejection came swift and bitter, he felt the cold truth wash over him. She dismissed his effort as a rich man's gimmick. How deeply it stung. Shame washed over him, reminding Jack of just how far he drifted from his roots. But the local community rallied behind Carl, reinvigorating Jack's hopes. They shared stories and whispered encouragement, igniting a fire within him. Jack realized he stood at a crossroads. Could he navigate the chaotic waters of redemption and reconnect with another father-daughter duo while confronting his own broken ties? Emotions rushed like the winds outside the jet, a swirling storm of hope and despair mingling high above the clouds. One thing was clear. The question of connection loomed larger than the wealth he once believed would define him. What would happen next? Could he truly bridge the gap that status and privilege had created? The flight continued, a delicate hush enveloping the cabin as Jack wrestled with the knot in his stomach. Carl's eyes were alight with stories yet to be told. It was as if every word had life, waiting for a chance to weave together threads of hope and sadness. "Son," Carl said, breaking the silence, "every journey has its storms. But it's how you weather them that shapes who you are." The words sunk deep into Jack's being. He stared out the window, watching the endless sky for answers, while his mind replayed moments with his father, fishing trips and silent car rides filled with unspoken words. Regret intertwined with hope, a yearning to reclaim what's lost. "What if I fail again?" Jack voiced, wrapping his hands tightly around the armrest. The thought of reaching out again, only to be rejected, haunted him. Yet, he saw Carl's gaze unwavering, filled with quiet strength. "Failure, my friend, is just another step towards discovering who you truly are." Jack absorbed Carl's wisdom. This time, he wanted to do it differently. He pulled out his phone. Thumbing through contacts, he hesitated at his own father's number. Would dialing it instead be an act of courage or foolishness? He needed to reconnect with his own past before reaching out to help someone else. The jet landed softly at the airport, but Jack felt as if it had touched down in a whirlwind of emotions. Leaving the confines of luxury for a busy terminal filled him with anticipation. Carl was right beside him, a glimmer of determination flickering in the corner of his eye, but the cacophony of modern life threatened to drown out Jack's resolve. The urgency of business calls and meetings lay ahead. Even as he thought about the relationships that mattered most, his responsibilities called louder, pulling him back into the world of shareholders and balance sheets. Can we make a quick stop? Jack found himself asking Carl, who raised an eyebrow with surprise. To Idaho. My dad, I want to see him. The words flowed out, raw and real, filled with a mix of fear and excitement. Carl smiled and nodded, sensing the shift within Jack. Soon they were on the road. The landscape of Idaho unveiled itself, sprawling fields, distant mountains, and the familiar scent of pine swept through the car window. Each mile felt like a homecoming, and the memories surged forward: unsuccessful school plays, midnight fishing trips, the warmth of a father's embrace, everything washed over him like a tide. When they pulled up to the modest family home, Jack's heart raced. Would his father even want to see him? What if he was still holding on to the disappointments of Jack's past? Those worries simmered beneath the surface as he stepped out, his hands trembling slightly as Carl placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Whatever happens, you're not alone, he said, and Jack nodded, grateful for the support. As he approached the front porch, Jack swallowed hard, emotions threatening to rise. He knocked, each tap resonating in his chest, echoing like the heartbeat of a man desperate for connection. Moments felt like hours, and just as he started to second-guess himself, the door creaked open. His father stood there, eyes widening in shock. Jack felt something shift within him, a crack of hope blending with fear. Dad, it's me. With every breath, he prepared to bridge the vast distance time had carved between them. But in that moment, as the door hung ajar, he realized something profound. Whether his father welcomed him inside or not would determine the next chapter of his life. Would the door close forever, or would it open to a world of healing and reconciliation? The answer beckoned, right on the edge of his daring transformation. Jack's heart raced as he stood on the porch, his words hanging heavy in the air. The moment felt surreal, as if time were playing tricks. He searched his father's eyes desperately for a glimmer of recognition, a flicker of warmth that might confirm what he hoped for. But confusion danced in those familiar blue depths, and vulnerability pricked at Jack's resolve. Dad, he repeated, the word tasting like a promise. I'm back. Can we talk? His father looked as if he were grappling with a storm of emotions, uncertainty etched into his lined face. Finally, he stepped back, allowing the door to creak wider. Come in, Jack. The air filled with a blend of caution and the faintest hint of hope. Inside, the living room brimmed with memories. Old photographs adorned the weathered walls, framed snapshots capturing moments that felt both like ghosts and guides. Jack's fingers brushed over the family albums stacked on the coffee table, and he felt a rush of nostalgia. It had been too long. Jack took a seat, feeling the weight of the past pressing down. I know we haven't spoken in a while. I thought it was best for both of us, but his voice faltered. He glanced up, searching for a reply, any sign that his father was willing to listen. Best for who, Jack? His father replied, his voice steady but tinged with underlying hurt. Your career? Your image? Or maybe it was best for you, to avoid facing the truth. You walked away. Jack felt a stab of guilt, the truth cutting sharper than any blade. I thought I was doing what you wanted, what was best for everyone. Everyone? His father's brow furrowed, skepticism etched into his features. You mean your idea of success, don't you? Have you ever stopped to think about what I wanted, or what this family needed? Jack opened his mouth to protest, to defend his choices. The world of business, he thought, was meant to secure their future. But as he looked into his father's eyes, the conviction faded. I just wanted you to be proud. Deep silence enveloped them, dense with unspoken words. Jack's throat tightened, his heart hammering against his chest. I'm sorry, Dad. I've made mistakes, and I'd like to try to fix things. A flicker of emotion crossed his father's face, as if the years of distance were dissolving in that instant. Jack, I've held on to my disappointment for too long. I sat in this room waiting for you, even when I thought you wouldn't come back. Jack felt tears prickling the corners of his eyes. You mean that? His father sighed, the weight of unspoken regrets echoing between them. I do. But it's going to take more than words to mend what's broken. It's going to take time. What can I do? Jack asked, willing to fight for this chance, for the bond they once shared. Let us start with being honest about everything. And we'll see where that takes us, his father replied, a cautious acceptance softening his features. Relief washed over Jack, but beneath it lay uncertainty. Would they be able to truly reconnect after so much time apart? As he looked around, the room felt like fragile ground beneath his feet, but it was grounding all the same. Just then, Carl's voice broke through the silence, his expression warm yet serious as he leaned against the doorframe. I think I'll give you two some space. Remember, Jack, healing takes courage, but it also needs honesty. No turning back now. As Carl stepped out into the hallway, Jack turned back to his father. His heart swirled with hope, yet fear gripped him. Would authenticity pave the way for real connection? The air thickened with possibility, each second filled with the chance for a new beginning. Jack's pulse quickened as his father locked eyes with him, a silent challenge hanging in the air. Would they share their truths, paving the way to rebuild their shattered relationship? Jack felt the answer lingering on the tip of his tongue, uncertain yet full of potential, the door of reconciliation wide open. Jack took a deep breath, his heart thumping louder than ever. Dad, I need to know how you feel. I can't just pretend like everything is okay. I can't move forward without knowing where we stand. His father leaned back in his chair, arms crossed protectively. You think it's that simple? All those years of silence, of distance, it doesn't just vanish because you want it to. But we can't stay stuck in the past. I want to repair this, I want to understand, Jack implored, urgency lacing his words, the silence stretched, the weight of unspoken feelings compressing the air between them. Jack felt the tension build, he didn't want to retreat, but the fear of rejection gnawed at his resolve. Yet, this was a chance, the only one he had. I'm scared, Jack admitted, his voice barely a whisper. I'm scared of losing you again, but I think we can get through this. His father stared at him, and finally, something shifted. Being scared is part of it. I've spent so long being angry that I forgot to be scared. I'm scared, too. Scared that we've lost too much to fix it. Jack's heart clenched. I was young and stupid. I thought success was all that mattered. I thought it would make you happy. His father uncrossed his arms, the guard around his heart visibly softening. What makes me happy is knowing you're okay, Jack. That you're happy. But you have to be honest with yourself first. Honest about what? Jack asked, leaning in. About all of it. The choices you made, the reasons you left, and how they affected you, his father said, voice steady. Promise me that you'll be real. Jack nodded, swallowing hard. I promise. The air shifted again, charged but somehow lighter. They were stepping onto unfamiliar ground, and with every passing moment, Jack could feel the bridge between them slowly mending. I guess I left because I wanted to prove myself. I thought if I became successful, you'd finally see me. A faint smile flickered across his father's face. I see you now. And I've always seen you. You never needed to prove anything to me. Jack's eyes brightened at the warmth of his father's words. Maybe this wasn't the end, maybe it felt like the beginning of something new. But it's not just about what I can do or say, Jack continued. It's also about me learning to listen to you, to understand your side of things. His father nodded, and for the first time, mutual understanding washed over them. That's a start. The moment felt fragile yet revolutionary, the old wounds slowly healing. Jack knew there would be challenges ahead, but they were finally facing them together. I want to do this, Jack expressively stated. I want to hear everything, no matter how hard it is. I want to know you again. His father's expression turned serious. It won't be easy, Jack. There will be tears. Anger. Regrets. We'll have to face the truth together. Whatever it takes, Jack replied firmly, feeling a mix of determination and hope coursing through him. Just then, the door creaked open again as Carl reappeared. "Everything okay in here?" he asked, his concern evident. Jack and his father exchanged a look, the unbreakable bond between them beginning to reform. "We're figuring it out," Jack answered, his voice steadier than before. Carl smiled, but there was a glimmer of apprehension in his eyes. "Just remember, sometimes the truth can hurt more than a lie. Be prepared to navigate through it." As Carl retreated once more, Jack turned back to his father. They shared a long look, one filled with unspoken promises and possibilities. Jack felt the time had come to unearth the buried secrets, to bring the hidden truths to light. What lay beneath the memories of laughter and family? He took a deep breath, ready for whatever revelations awaited them. Would the truth strengthen their bond or shatter it again? The weight of what was yet to be disclosed hovered in the air, an impending storm that both frightened and exhilarated him. He knew the journey ahead would test them, but, for the first time in years, Jack felt willing to face it head-on, believing in the hope that lay just beyond the horizon. Jack shifted in his seat, the weight of the moment pressing heavily on him. He could feel his father's gaze, still steady but softening, as if he were offering Jack a lifeline. "Let us start with the day you decided to leave. What was going through your mind?" His father's voice was low, encouraging but laced with caution. Every question felt like a pebble dropped into a pond, sending ripples of anxiety and hope across the surface of their conversation. Jack hesitated. It was a painful memory, one he had tucked away, not wanting to confront it. "I thought I could make it on my own," Jack finally said, the words tumbling out like marbles from a bag. "I believed the only way I could gain your respect was through success. I wanted to prove to you, to everyone, that I wasn't just your son but someone worthy." His father sighed deeply, and it echoed in Jack's chest. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "So that's what it was about? Proving yourself to me?" Jack's throat tightened. "Yeah. I thought that if I made enough money, if I became someone, you'd be proud. I didn't realize it came at such a cost. I thought distance would bring me closer to you." There was a moment of silence before his father spoke again, voice trembling slightly. "I didn't ever want you to feel that way. I wanted you to feel loved, just as you are." The simplicity of his father's words struck Jack like lightning. Tears prickled at the corners of his eyes. "But it never felt like that. I felt like I was always falling short. I wanted your approval so badly. And I wanted to give it to you," his father confessed, the raw honesty causing the air to hum with tension. "I was too caught up in my own disappointments to see how I was pushing you away. I thought I was helping you with my expectations, but all I did was push us further apart." The confession hung in the air, heavy and charged. Jack's chest tightened, a mixture of relief and renewed sorrow washing over him. "Dad, I didn't want to hurt you." "I know," his father replied softly. "But we both masked our pain with silence. Now it's time to break that silence. It's time to be real." Jack met his father's eyes, and he felt something inside him shift. There was a vulnerability there, one that he hadn't seen in years. It was a glimpse into the man behind the father, the one who had his own struggles, insecurities, and desires. As he contemplated this new layer, Jack suddenly remembered the time he spent alone in his condo, building walls around his heart to tourniquet past wounds. Would revealing the truth about his feelings open up both old heartbreaks and fresh wounds as well? "Where do we go from here?" Jack asked, voice barely a whisper. His father took a deep breath, glancing away for a moment as if gathering his thoughts. "We have to keep talking. This is just the beginning. We'll share everything, even the ugly parts." Before he could finish, the phone rang on the table beside them, startling both men. Jack glanced at it, sensing the shift in the mood. "Do we answer?" His father frowned, and a knot of tension returned. "It could be work. But we're in the middle of." Jack hesitated, torn between persistence and the potential disruption of the conversation. His father rubbed his temples. Sometimes you have to choose between what's urgent and what's truly important. You know what's at stake here. Jack felt the urgency of the moment, the unsaid truth hanging palpably in the air. They were at a crossroads. Could this conversation survive the interruption? Was it too fragile to withstand the outside world? And just like that, the ringing continued, almost mocking their vulnerability. Would answering the call pull them apart again? Or was it a chance to strengthen this newly found connection? The question loomed as they both stared at the phone. Jack felt a flutter of anxiety. What lay ahead of them was unknown, yet they both stood on the precipice of change. What could their next conversation reveal? As he reached for the phone, Jack's heart raced, unsure if this action would serve as a bridge or a barrier. Jack's hand hovered over the phone, his heart thudding loudly in the silence of the room. His father's eyes were fixed on him, fear and hope dancing within them like shadows in the fading light. The phone continued to ring, the insistent sound cutting through the moment they were desperately trying to hold on to. "Maybe it's important," his father said, yet his voice lacked conviction. It was evident he was just as reluctant as Jack to break the fragile connection they had started to rebuild. "What if it isn't?" Jack shot back, frustration mixing with determination. "What if it's just another distraction, another chance to fall back into old habits?" His father's brow furrowed, and it was clear he was wrestling with the same thoughts. The weight of their unresolved issues slipped from the heavy air into this subtle argument, as if they were fighting to stay grounded. Jack's mind raced. Wasn't this call just another escape from confronting their reality? For a moment, Jack considered letting it ring out. He could almost feel the tension pulling them back into a world of silence and misunderstanding. But the phone wouldn't relent, taunting them both, yanking at the threads of the tentative connection they had just begun to weave. "Let it go to voicemail," he said, the urgency in his voice underscoring how vital this moment felt. "We need to be here now." His father's gaze softened, and he finally nodded, resigned to the decision. The ringing halted, and the air transformed, thick with the unspoken words that now felt more pressing than the distraction. "Okay," his father whispered, the acceptance refreshing yet daunting. Jack felt a sense of triumph. They were choosing each other over the world outside. Yet, beneath that victory lay a fragile peace, ready to fracture with the next word spoken. "What do we do now?" Jack asked again, feeling the weight of his father's unfulfilled expectations still resting heavily upon him. "We breathe," his father replied, and even as he said it, his shoulders slumped slightly, the tension easing just a bit. "We take this one step at a time. Let us start with the truth, something real." Jack swallowed hard. Was he ready to share what really lay beneath the surface? Memories of the loneliness he felt after he left crowded in his mind. The times he lay awake at night, consumed by self-doubt and isolation, haunted him. "I never thought," he began, before pausing to gather his thoughts. "Never thought what, Jack?" His father pressed gently, a steady warmth radiating from him now. "I never thought I'd say this aloud, but I felt so lost. I thought chasing success would fill that empty space, but all it did was widen it." Jack's voice cracked on the last word as tears threatened to spill. "I understand," his father offered, leaning closer, sincerity pooling in his eyes. "I've seen how those empty spaces grow. How running away from them only fills them with more pain." Jack nodded, feeling a new bond forming, one stitched with the threads of their painful truths. "I just wanted to feel enough, for you, for me." The atmosphere shifted again, the intensity palpable. The wall that had stood between them seemed to crumble with each shared admission. Yet, Jack's heart raced with uncertainty, fearful of what lay ahead. Could this new understanding last, or would it fade under the weight of reality? As understanding washed over them, the phone buzzed suddenly, this time vibrating, the moment interrupted again. Jack's heart sank. Who could it be? Another distraction, or perhaps someone from the life he had turned away from? He glanced at his father, who was watching him intently. Maybe it was a test. Would he let this new connection break at the first sign of chaos? "Do we answer it?" Jack asked, voice wavering. His father stared at the phone, clearly torn. "It's your choice, Jack." But remember, sometimes the hardest calls to answer are the ones that matter most. The message drummed through Jack's thoughts like a pulse. As he reached for the phone again, he knew they were stepping into uncharted territory. What awaited them on the other side of this call? Would it pull them closer together, or send them spiraling back apart? Jack's fingers brushed the screen, trembling slightly as he steadied his breath. The message flashed bright against the dark backdrop, pulling him in. It was from Sarah, a name that stirred memories both sweet and painful. Jack. Call me ASAP. It's important. His heart raced. The last time they'd spoken hadn't been a good one. He had stormed off in frustration, vowing he wouldn't let her dictate his happiness any longer. But now, he didn't know what to feel. Who is it? His father asked, his gaze shifting between the phone and Jack's face, a whirlpool of curiosity and caution. It's just Sarah, Jack mumbled, the name hanging heavy in the air. Just Sarah? His father echoed, a hint of disbelief in his tone. She's the one you've been avoiding, right? Yeah, for good reason, Jack replied, his voice sharper than intended. He rubbed the back of his neck, feeling the tension build again. But she says it's important. Maybe it is, his father said, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. Or maybe it's another moment of chaos. You've got a choice to make, Jack. Jack bit his lip as uncertainty loomed over him. Should he drown in the unpredictable waters of old relationships or stay rooted in this moment with his father? I don't want to lose this, he admitted quietly, the depth of his confession settling between them like a stone. I've fought too hard to get here. Then maybe you need to ask yourself what matters more, his father suggested, his voice steady. What you've built or what might still be out there. The phone buzzed insistently again, shaking Jack from his thoughts. With each vibration, he felt like it was summoning something inside him, fears, longings, and the lost connection he had tried to leave behind. Just answer it, Jack. No more running, his father urged softly. Jack hesitated, glancing at the phone and then back at his father's encouraging expression. Each second twisted into a decision point, one that felt monumental. Could he handle the truth from Sarah? Would it revive memories he was not ready to confront? He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of this choice. What if this call could either strengthen their newfound bond or tear him away entirely? With resolve coursing through him, he answered, Sarah? The silence on the other end hung heavily. Then her voice, wavering, yet full of warmth, broke through. Jack, I'm so glad you picked up. I didn't know if you would, but I really need to talk to you about something big. Jack's heart raced again. This could change everything. What is going on? Before she could respond, a sudden crash echoed in the background, followed by frantic voices. Are you okay? Jack asked, his heart pounding. Not really, she replied, her voice trembling. There is something you need to hear. It's about us, and it's urgent. Jack's pulse quickened as dread and curiosity clashed in his chest. His father's eyes were locked on him, a mixture of support and concern. Tell me, he urged, barely able to contain the anxiety brewing inside him, but just as she started to speak, the call cut off, leaving only silence in its wake. Jack, his father whispered, the air thickening with tension. What just happened? Jack's grip tightened around the phone. He felt a whirlwind of emotions: hope, fear, confusion. What had she meant? What had she meant about us? Now, more than ever, he needed to know. As adrenaline surging through him, he realized the stakes were higher than he'd imagined. Dad, I have to call her back, Jack said urgently, already tapping the screen to redial. As the phone rang, a realization washed over him. He was ready to face whatever this was. Would it bring them together or drive a deeper wedge between them? As the ringing continued, Jack waited with bated breath, the future hanging in delicate balance. Was he prepared for what would happen next? The phone rang twice before he heard the click. Jack's breath caught in his throat, and his heart pounded against his ribs like a drum. Jack. Sarah's voice came through, softer now. The urgency in her tone cut through his anxiety. What happened? Are you okay? I'm fine, she said hesitantly. But I really need you to listen to me. I didn't want to call you again like this, but time is running out. Time for what? His voice was firm, but panic laced his words. She took a shaky breath. There's been an accident, Jack. It involves someone we both know. The words hit him like a punch. Who? Sarah, just tell me. Silence stretched out between them, each passing second feeling like an eternity. It's about my brother. He was in a terrible car crash last night. I thought he'd be okay, but... Her voice quivered, cracking under the weight of her emotions. Jack felt a wave of empathy wash over him. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. He's in the hospital, and I... She faltered, a choked sob escaping her. I don't know what to do. The doctors aren't optimistic. He steadied himself. He knew this was bigger than any fight they'd had. What do you need, Sarah? I need you to come to the hospital. I can't do this alone. I thought, maybe you'd still care enough to help. Jack's throat tightened at her words. The question hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. Did he still care? He hadn't seen her in months, yet here she was, needing him in a way that shattered the barriers he had put up. I'll be there, he promised, almost without thinking. His father's hand rested on his shoulder, a silent gesture of support. Thank you, she breathed, visibly relieved. It's room 204, and then please hurry. The gravity of the situation crashed over him. This wasn't just about them anymore. It was real, raw, and urgent. Jack, his father said gently, breaking through his thoughts. Your heart matters here. Think about what you want. I know, Jack replied, feeling an unexpected clarity. I think I need to face this, for her and for myself. As he hung up, Jack's emotions surged. He wasn't just a guy running from his past. He was a son, a friend, someone capable of compassion. The quiet room around him felt alive, the air charged with tension and possibility. Are you ready? His father asked, standing and slipping on his jacket. Jack nodded, fierce determination lighting a fire in his chest. They stepped outside, the air crisp against Jack's skin. It felt like the world had shifted in that moment, as if the past and present collided in a spectacular way. As they approached the car, a thought flickered through his mind. Was he truly ready to confront the feelings for Sarah he'd ignored for so long? With determination in his voice, he said, "Let us go." He could already envision the hospital looming ahead, a battleground where wounds could heal or deepen, but deep down, he could feel the anxiety flickering and gnawing worry about what he would find when he stepped into that hospital room. Would he see the Sarah from his past, still wrapped in pain? Or someone new, transformed by grief and hope? As they drove into the bustle of city streets, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter might just change everything for him, for Sarah, and for the bond they shared. And just as they turned a corner, a shocking thought struck him. Would this moment actually be the turning point in their lives, or would it unravel everything he had fought so hard to rebuild? With breath caught in his chest and his heart racing, Jack realized this was just the beginning of a path he hadn't anticipated, and he was ready to explore where it might lead. The hospital loomed larger with every passing second, a concrete fortress filled with uncertainty and flickering lights. As they pulled into a parking spot, Jack's heart raced, clenching tight with anxiety. He remembered the first time he met Sarah's brother, the way he laughed, full of life and spirit. Now, the thought of him fighting for his life sent a chill down Jack's spine. Are you okay? His father asked, sensing the tightness in Jack's shoulders. I don't know, Jack admitted, a tremor in his voice. He glanced out the window, watching families flow in and out of the entrance, some with hope shining in their eyes while others wore the weight of sorrow like a heavy cloak. It feels heavy. Just take it one step at a time, his father encouraged, steady as ever, but Jack couldn't shake the sinking feel in his stomach. They walked toward the entrance, the scent of antiseptic and faint floral arrangements mingling in the air. Jack ran a hand through his hair, trying to gather his thoughts, but all that echoed was Sarah's voice, broken and scared. Room 204 felt worlds away as they navigated the winding hallways. Each step was like trudging through molasses. When they finally reached the door, Jack hesitated. Fear gripped him. What if he walked in to see the brother he admired lying unconscious, void of laughter and hope? His father placed a reassuring hand on his back. "You're not alone." Taking a deep breath, Jack pushed the door open. The sight of Sarah sitting hunched over in a chair sent a wave of relief crashing over him, but sadness followed closely behind. Her eyes were red and swollen, and scattered tissues told the story of a long, sleepless night. At that moment, Jack remembered the girl who loved her brother fiercely, who could laugh even in the darkest moments. "Jack," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Hey," he said softly, stepping forward. She looked at him, a flicker of hope in her eyes that made his chest tighten. Jack felt a mix of emotions, angry at the situation but grateful he was here. "How is he?" "They're still running tests," she replied, but her voice lacked the strength it usually carried. "The doctor said it might take a while to know anything for sure." Jack sat beside her, their elbows brushing. He could feel warmth radiating off her, but it was also tinged with despair. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I can't imagine what you're going through." "Thanks for coming," she said, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I didn't think I'd be able to face this without you." His heart skipped at her words. "You'll never have to. I'm here. We'll get through this together." A long silence stretched between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. They both knew the weight that had pulled them apart in the past had lessened just a bit, at least in this moment. "Do you think he'll be okay?" she finally asked, staring down the hallway toward the room where doctors and nurses came and went, a whirlwind of activity. Jack hesitated. "I hope so. He's strong. Just know that whatever happens you're not alone." Tears brimmed in her eyes again, and she nodded, hope flickering like a candle's flame. Jack's heart ached for her, but he felt something else too, an awakening of feelings long buried. As they held each other's gaze, an unspoken connection silently reformed, stitching together the jagged edges of their past. And then, unexpectedly, the hospital door creaked open, and a doctor stepped in, a stern expression on his face. "I need to speak with you both." Jack felt his breath quicken. What news would the doctor bring? Hope or despair? In that moment, he realized just how fragile everything was. The weight of the unknown pressed down hard, and Jack braced himself, knowing this was not just Sarah's battle, it was about to be theirs together. What would the doctor reveal, and how would the outcome shape their lives forever? Jack's heart was pounding in his chest as the doctor stepped into the room. The sterile smell of the hospital combined with the anxiety swirling around them created an atmosphere thick with uncertainty. He turned towards Sarah, who gripped his hand tightly, her knuckles pale but her eyes unwavering. "Please," she whispered, as if the plea could shield them from whatever was about to unfold. The doctor adjusted his glasses, taking a breath that echoed in the stillness. "I'm afraid it's serious," he said slowly, each word weighted like a stone. "Your brother has sustained significant injuries. We are doing everything we can, but he is currently in critical condition." Jack could see Sarah's world shatter in an instant. Her face blanched as she leaned into him, tears spilling forth. He wrapped an arm around her, a mixture of anger and helplessness boiling within him. He realized, in that moment, that their lives were tied together in ways he had never understood. "What can we do?" Jack found himself asking, his voice a mix of determination and desperation. This isn't just about him anymore, this was about Sarah and her brother. The doctor's expression softened. "You can stay close. Talk to him. Familiar voices can be very comforting, even if he's unconscious. And we'll keep you updated on his status." Jack nodded, not sure of what else to do, but knowing he had to be there for Sarah. They spent the next hours waiting, so close yet so far from understanding the full weight of the situation. Jack couldn't help but feel a connection between the struggles of his own family and what Sarah was facing. Every so often, he would steal a glance at Sarah. Her face was a tapestry of emotions: fear, sadness, hope each glance pulling him deeper into the realization of just how much she meant to him. He reached for her hand again, warmth radiating between them. "Don't lose hope," he urged softly, knowing they both needed that anchor. He strong. He fought before. She met his gaze, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I'm scared to hope, Jack. What if I lose him, too?" There was a crack in her voice that tore at his heart. "Then we'll face it together," he promised. "I want to let you go through this alone." The words felt so true, resonating with a sincerity he had long evaded. He hadn't just gained a perspective on family while reconnecting with his father, he had realized the need to nurture bonds wherever they existed. Hours turned into an emotional blur. Jack tended to Sarah, fetching water, squeezing her hand, and listening to the even rhythms of her breathing. He glanced at the clock, feeling time stretch and compress as they waited to hear the next update. Finally, a nurse entered to check on them, kindly asking if they needed anything. Jack took advantage of the moment. "Can we see him?" She looked hesitant, but then nodded. "Just keep it brief. We don't want to overstimulate him." Jack felt a sudden surge of resolve as he and Sarah were led to the small room. When they entered, the sight of Sarah's brother lying there, pale and still, struck Jack with overwhelming gravity. Machines beeped rhythmically, a haunting reminder of life hanging in the balance. He looked. Sarah trailed off, tears spilling again. Jack stood beside her, feeling her tremble against him. "He's still fighting," Jack whispered, trying to summon strength for both of them. They introduced themselves to her brother, speaking soft words full of love and encouragement. "You're going to get through this. You've got so many people who love you," Jack added, gazing down at the unmoving figure. After what felt like an eternity, Sarah, her voice breaking, leaned closer. "Please, just come back to us. We need you." A weight settled in Jack's heart. In that moment, he felt layers of old wounds peel back, revealing paths of healing they all needed to traverse. With each moment spent, he became more intertwined in Sarah's life. Her fight became his fight, their hopes bound together in desperate unity. Days passed, tension hung in the air, and slowly her brother's condition began to improve, step by tiny step. It amazed Jack how something so painful had shifted his own understanding of love and connection. Every shared moment, every touch, slowly rebuilt the bridges between fractured hearts. At last, one bright afternoon, Sarah's brother opened his eyes, looking around with confusion, then recognition washed over his face. The tears that flowed from Sarah were different this time. These were tears of relief and joy. The hug she gave Jack after that moment was a revelation. Through the fear and uncertainty, something shifted between them. They moved forward, connected not just by the struggles they faced but also by the shared triumphs that followed. As they embraced, Jack could feel the warmth of reconnection, a mutual understanding that lay beyond their pain. They were building something grander, a family forged by love, resilience, and the realization of what's truly important. Together, they stepped into a world of healing, renewed hope shimmering on the horizon. In his heart, Jack realized they weren't just moving forward, they were transforming. And as hands intertwined with purpose, they carried each other bravely into the future. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that can inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover our journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share your own transformation stories. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us grow this community together.